I didn't really play a lot of video games growing up, but I did indulge in some gems for the Game Boy Color and later the Game Boy Advance. While everyone else was enamored with Mario, I managed to fall in love with two games featuring his evil, twin, cousin, self from the mirror universe, Wario. I played countless hours on Wario Land 3 and 4. I always preferred 3 over 4, as that world felt much more expansive. Sure, the graphics were a big improvement in 4, but when you can nearly beat the game in a weekend, the simpler graphics and months of gameplay from 3 are starting to look pretty good. But I'm not here to review these games. Instead, I want to talk about a direction the story could have taken that I think could have been pretty cool. First, some context. Wario Land 3 has Wario accidentally get sucked into a music box, where the god who once ruled the world inside the music box asks Wario to help free him and defeat the wicked being who sealed away his power. Hours of gameplay later, you discover this hidden figure is actually the bad guy himself, and he has designs to rule the outer world that Wario hailed from. You beat him, the denizens of the world that this monster had transformed into little monsters allow you to take away all the treasure that you found along the way, and you return to your own world. Wario Land 4 essentially has no connections to Wario Land 3. The opening of the game shows a pyramid that was recently discovered, and Wario goes inside to have more adventures and get more treasure. But what if there was a little more continuity between the games? I don't know why they minimized the continuity here. You look at the second generation of Pokemon games, and there were plenty of references to the first generation of games, but the game was still enjoyable to someone who may have never played the first generation of games, which is very important. I think you could have done something like that with Wario. So my idea involves drastically changing the ending of Wario Land 3, which would in turn result in an entirely different plot for Wario Land 4. I wasn't joking earlier when I said I didn't know what Wario's deal is. All I really know is that he's basically an evil version of Mario. In the two games I've played, he is driven entirely by greed, and not heroism like Mario seems to be. It wasn't until the hidden figure in Wario Land 3 suggested Wario could keep all the treasure he found that Wario was game to help free him. So what if Wario frees this monster clown, he says, "I'm gonna take over the world, but first, I'm gonna kill you with it." And Wario says, then he fights, like in the game. Then, Wario says, take over the world, that's not a bad idea. So instead of Wario graciously taking the treasure he found during his quest and leaving these nice people to their music box world, Wario says, "Guess what, suckers, the king is dead, long live the king." He's a greedy dude, he started off as a bad guy, this is totally in character for him to do. I suspect this would have been out of the question at Nintendo. We are not going to sell a video game to children where they are party to a villain who attacks a sovereign nation, deposes their ruler, and takes the throne for himself. That would be super dark, we are not letting that fly. So they go for the softer, family-friendly ending, even though that flies in the face of this guy's entire characterization. It's like in the 1990s when people fell in love with the sadistic monster Venom, so Marvel Comics responded by giving him his own comics where he is less sadistic and monstrous, even though those are the reasons people fell in love with him. But with these Wario games, there's not much story here. The only dialogue is at the very beginning when you get your quest, and at the very end when you find out you've been had. People aren't playing this game for the story. They're playing it for the fun adventure Wario goes on. So it isn't like you would be changing very much of the game itself to accommodate his characterization like you would if you turned a Spider-Man villain into a protagonist in his own right. So let's say everyone at Nintendo was super high that day and they said, "Sure, let's do it!" And Wario Land 3 ends with Wario becoming the new tyrant of the music box. He might get bored with his life someday, but right now, it's good to be king. Until Wario Land 4. Instead of Wario just walking into a pyramid to get more treasure, this game would take place in the music box once again. But so that people don't say, "Hey, this is just the same world we explored last time," you can throw some hooey in there about how the geography has warped to match the new ruler. Anyway, Wario's loving life, but one of the denizens from his kingdom somehow managed to get a message out to the larger world that Wario hailed from. Accept our quest, hero. Heh, no, afraid not. It'll be Mario who somehow gets this message that someone needs help. Mario is always down to help people, so mirroring the beginning of Wario Land 3, Wario Land 4 begins with Mario walking up to the music box and getting sucked in. When he finds out Wario has taken over this world and turned it into a hellish landscape, he vows to help these people. But this isn't a Mario game, so we are not following the guy who comes in to help. If we were, then you'd basically get the same plot as Wario Land 3 or Super Mario Land 2 6 golden coins. No, we will still be following Wario, who somehow catches wind that Mario has entered his kingdom to take away all of this stuff from him. So imagine Robert Baratheon, once a mighty warrior, now fat and lazy after years of inactivity. Now he has to fight his rival from before, as well as the natives the giant clown turned into monsters years before the events of Wario Land 3. Wario has his various power-ups he acquired from the previous games, but the player has to relearn how to use these items since Wario hasn't been practicing with them lately. So the further you get in the game, the better Wario is at blasting through rocks and swimming and such. You wouldn't see much of Wario in the game. He'll be training the members of the underground who want him to liberate them so that they don't become so dependent on a foreign hero coming in to save the day. Meanwhile, Wario has to go find the 5 music boxes that he acquired in the previous game. Wario was told that a wicked being had sealed the god of this music box up, but keeping the ending of Wario Land 3 in mind, I think the implication is pretty clear that people sealed him up. So one of the first things Wario did was hide those music boxes so they couldn't do the same thing to him. So the game is once again finding these music boxes, partly out of self-preservation, but also maybe Wario can figure out how to seal up Mario and then get back to the good life. The mini-bosses you would fight along the way would be the higher-ranking members of the underground, tired of Wario's rule. So how would the game end? Well, you gotta keep Mario and Wario intact for future appearances in later games, so I suspect somehow they end up having a big epic battle. Maybe entire landscapes are getting damaged by their fight, and the natives are able to banish both of them back to their own world, and the music box will somehow get sucked up into a portal or something, keeping them safe from future intruders. Mario isn't a cop, so he's not going to throw Wario in a dungeon, and Wario, while closer to his fighting weight than he was at the beginning of the game, isn't ready to go another 6 rounds with Mario, especially if he sees some of Mario's posse coming in to see what's been going on. So they part ways. Importantly, you get 2 fun games, and you maintain the integrity of Wario's character in both of them. Wario can continue being a full-on antagonist in ensemble or single hero games, or he can be the star of his own games on other consoles, being tricked or forced into heroics, all while keeping his eye on the bigger prize. But I'm not a video game designer. There's probably 200 reasons why they didn't go in this direction. But what do you guys think? Did you play these games in your youth? Do you think this sounds like an improvement or just a big pile of poo? Let me know in the comments, and next week I'll be doing some other kind of fanfiction-y type video where I offer a change on something. Probably not another video game, so check in then to see what I do. And in the meantime, I do other videos which I also think you should check out. Until later, have a good one.